Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Hello to everybody watching in the replay. Go ahead and speak to y'all. I know I don't speak to you guys that much that are watching the video and the replay, but thank you guys for watching. And do me a favor, while you're here, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Even before we get started, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and share this video if you will. Get these fingers loosened up a little bit. Give our live people some time to jump on. Regular scale. Good morning, everybody jumping on. So if you're just jumping on, do me a huge favor and go ahead and give this a thumbs up. You can feel free to share it as well. Welcome, welcome to everybody coming in. I see you with the thumbs up. Thank you guys. Thank you. South Africa. I see you in the building. Who else we got on here this morning? Where you at? Where you at? Where you signing in from? How we make that work? Olympia from Dallas. Good morning to you. Memphis, Tennessee. I see you in the building. That ain't too far from my original home, so it's like 2 hours away. All right. Who else we got? All right. Be sure to sign in, guys. I want to speak to you this morning. And be sure to give those thumbs up. That helps me. Christoph, what's up, man? I'm good, man. It's like sometimes you don't get to really dig in like you want to. What's the topic? Not much of a topic today. I wanted to really talk more so about songwriting and more so releasing your own music. More so along that line. What's up, Deli? All right. Charlotte, North Carolina. What's up, Bruce? I see you in the building. So I missed somebody. Thank you. Definitely need that topic on songwriting. Absolutely. Mike, hometown, Mississippi. Boonville. Well, Boonville is not my hometown, but home state. There we go. Morning to you, Mike. All right, who else we got here? From London. Wagwan. Is that how you say that? Morning to you. Quebec, Canada. Good morning. Yeah, go ahead and give those thumbs up while we're here. I'll get going here in just a second. Heard some funky tuning happening. All right. Russell, what's up, man? I'm good, man. Alright, so I'm playing through this song from my record Grooves and Ideas. There is no bass solo in this song, believe it or not. It's all saxophone playing this, so I heard it the other day. I had forgot about this song. I heard it the other day. The name of the song is Blended. What's that? Emmanuel, I forgot to speak to you, man. Good morning to you. All of your ideas are inspirational. I still bump your album from 2012. Oh wow, I'm trying to think. What is that? The Journey Continues. I think that was the Journey. That would have been the Journey Continues. But anyway, thank you for rocking that album. So yeah, I try to stay on that inspirational tip. I appreciate you listening to that. Yeah, I try to stay on the inspirational tip. That's just kind of my headspace where I come from. So yeah, this song is called Blended. It features Run James on saxophone, Dietrich Listenby on keys, Brian Carson on organ, Of course, myself on guitar and bass. And who else? I'm missing somebody. Brian Andrews on drums on this particular song. So yeah, it's pretty laid back. I had this idea of a song. Actually, me and Ron James both wrote this song idea, and I took it and developed it a little bit more. We had it had this song done for an independent film a long time ago, and I wanted to go back and revisit the idea, and that's kind of how it came about and morphed into what it is now. But yeah, I just was playing through some of the chord changes and kind of seeing how it navigate. It has this thing where it's doing in the chords. You hear me kind of fumbling through it, just seeing what ideas work over this. The progression is a very simple progression. Thank you. So when we go here, it's the same melody, but we just changed the bass notes. So it's a little different. So where we go to that major 7. There's so many different ways we can approach that, but of course I try not to think about it from a technical standpoint. I try to just listen, like I talked about on last week, and see what feels good over it. So I'll just keep going back through that solo section and see what I like out of all of the ideas that I could play. And then if I want to get really analytical, I can start analyzing it. But yeah, the song is in A flat. So it starts on that 4 to the 3 to 7 to the 6, back to the 4, 3, 5, and then it goes to that flat 7. Or it's like that, the same chord, that 4 over the flat 7. Or you can just play that as a major 7. Alright, so like that F sharp or the G flat major 7 to the 4. What is there? And then to that. So I mean, real simple, but I'm just trying to think of different ways to approach it. Here. So instead of going, we go to the. So just playing around with that melody a little bit is all I'm doing. So yeah, I'll play around a little bit more with this, and then we'll kind of get into our little songwriting and that topic, if you will, and why you haven't released your own music. Let me see here. This is in the comment. Russell says, Jermaine, how come a lot of gospel stuff seems to be in the flat keys? Is it because of jazz influences, or is it something to do with the other instruments used? I honestly, I can't answer. I can't answer for all of them. There's some historical context to that that you know would play into that. To be honest, I can speak from my perspective, when I write stuff, I just kind of write in the key that I hear. This particular song, I heard the melody in A flat. It was that simple for me. I don't typically try to write in all flat keys, or even when I'm writing gospel songs. It's just that I don't know. I don't have a technical answer for that. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know all the technical. Like I said, I know historically I've heard about that in terms of the gospel stuff being more so in black keys because of the pentatonic scales, and they're easy to play. The pentatonic scales back in the day with a lot of the old school hymns and that kind of stuff, it was played over the black keys. Most of your flats and sharps are all in black keys, and you could play easily, like the old spirituals and that kind of stuff were easily sang in the more pentatonic, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, a lot of minor pentatonic stuff, and that stuff could be easily played over the black keys. So it's, from a historical standpoint, I know that was a big thing. But you want to dig more into the history of that with gospel. I'm sure there's somebody that can give you a more detailed answer. But for the most part, most of the people that I know, I am a songwriter, a gospel songwriter. But most of the people that I know that do certain songs, that write songs for gospel, they just, I don't know, they just like the way they sound in certain keys. And it just has a lot to do with the range of the singer. Because most of the time when we're writing for artists as a songwriter, you're kind of writing based on the range of that singer and what feels best. When it comes to gospel music in church, typically more churchy gospel songs are generally gonna be in the keys of A flat. Like when you start shouts and stuff like that, they're gonna be like an A flat, E flat. People do move the keys around and that kind of thing, but those are like two really, really common keys that that people are going to go to A flat when they started shouting in like gospel churches that are really organ driven and that kind of thing. So I really don't have the technical, or I guess I do, but I don't know why people still do it. For me personally, as a songwriter, there's just certain songs I like the key of. I like the some of the flat keys. I like being able to grab that low B flat. A lot of gospel songs, they don't just all use just the sharps and flats, because if you listen to a lot of gospel music, you notice that a lot of gospel music modulates a lot. So we end up covering the whole fretboard with gospel songs. You may start in the key of like B flat and end up in F sharp or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no telling where you may land when you're playing a gospel song. Just because it starts in a black key, we're subject to end anywhere. So as gospel musicians, it's important that they do know how to play in all of their keys, because you just never know. And having to be quick on your feet, especially if you're an organ player, you sit down, somebody just starts singing, you just have to start playing wherever they are. So yeah, it's I don't know. Again, hopefully that answered somewhat your question. I don't know the deep reason why it's like that, but it just is all I can answer. So sorry for that long drawn out answer. So I don't know how to say that. As Taz, I don't know how to say that. Watching, I'm gonna call you A. Watching with my 4-year-old daughter Clara, she said you are much better than me. Wow. So it's all fake. It's TV. It's special effects. Nelson Paul, are you a full-time bassist? When do you recommend becoming one? Yes, I am a full-time musician. I was a full-time bassist, and then that moved to just full-time musician, producer, songwriter. Yeah, he said, I want to quit. You want to quit your 9 to 5? I would say this. Before quitting your 9 to 5, make sure that you have substantial work lined up that makes sense for you to walk away from your 9 to 5. There's nothing wrong with becoming a full-time musician, but you have to make sure you count up the cost of doing that because it's risky. Of course, everything is risky. Staying at your 9 to 5 is risky because they could fire you tomorrow. We pray that they don't, but you know what I'm saying? But being a musician is definitely risky because, especially how I'm doing it right now, it's on a week to week basis, and you never know what's coming. You can hope and you can promote, you can, do a lot of things. But I'll be just transparent with you guys because for the last, up until last year, for the last 12 years, I've had a solid gig, a pretty solid gig that I didn't get fired from. I walked away from it. So to, basically pursue other things in music and other things according to my purpose, so to speak. But having that substantial income consistently, like from a church or something like that, that's I ain't gonna say it's forever there, but it's about as consistent as a 9 to 5. You kind of know what you're doing from week to week. You know what you're gonna be paid. Okay, I gotta come in on Sundays, I gotta come in on Thursdays, I gotta come in on Wednesdays, whenever your rehearsal days, whenever your midweek service, and any extra things that we do around that, I know I'm gonna be compensated for. That's a little bit more solid as a full-time basis, but sometimes those gigs are rare. The gig that I had was a rare opportunity for a bass player. Now there are tons of bass gigs, but to be able to exclusively do that. Morning, Nate. Let me see who else I missed real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. Good day. How do you compose, create songs from a bass player point of view? I got you, Tay. I'm gonna get to that. Thanks for answering my question, Nelson Paul. No problem. Made today live session. Much love from South Korea. Kingsley, good morning to you. I don't know what time it is over there, but good morning from me to you. So yeah, that's one of the things. If you're gonna step out and be a full-time musician, just make sure you have something to cover. So you have to be really, really creative. Like I said, in my scenario, what I'm in, it can be difficult because it's like you're literally working from week to week, and if you don't have any type of passive income coming in, you're dependent on your next call. You're dependent on somebody to like you, or you're dependent on recommendations from other people. Fortunately, I've been able to, most of you guys know, I've been able to do my online business as far as JermaineMorgan.net, where I do the lessons and all that kind of stuff. And so that's gave me options to not have to be so dependent on another situation or another, a call or recommendation. Now, all of those are welcome and they're always good as a musician, but I will be just 100% honest with you guys that are looking to do this. And I'm glad that you asked that question, because most of the people I try to share this information with who are just musicians, they're not interested in knowing the ins and outs of being a professional musician. It can be very risky. If you love it and it makes sense, it's definitely worth the risk for you to actually try it. But just knowing right off that it can be difficult for you, depending on where you are, especially if you are in a place that there isn't much of a music scene. And I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. Sometimes you have to create opportunities for yourself, because if you're in a place that doesn't have a music scene like where I am, like the Atlanta area, I'm actually closer to Athens area now, and I don't really even work much in Athens, but I was able to create something online that supplemented me having to run out and get a gig every other day, that kind of thing. So if you're not in a place where you can do that, where you can get a gig, get gigs often or set up potential gigs. Good afternoon from the Netherlands. Good afternoon to you, man. Good morning from me. Good afternoon to you. So, but if you're in a place where you don't have the resources to have a solid gig, you want to just kind of have that 9 to 5 until you're able to fully support your lifestyle, that kind of thing. Or maybe even if you want to walk away from the 9 to 5, have another hustle until that you get the music thing to where it can sustain you, that kind of thing. Because like I say, it can be difficult, but it is possible to do it as a full-time musician. And a lot of it is learning how to manage what you have, because the consistency of having a 9 to 5, this is going to be there every single week. The inconsistency of being a musician, or even being a songwriter, or being an artist, or whatever, one gig may pay what you're going to make in 2 3 months at your 9 to 5, but at the same time you have to have the awareness and the common sense to try to manage that, so that you're not in a bad place. And it's difficult. It's difficult when you've been used to a certain thing, and then with music things can change. All of a sudden everything can change, and it's like that with pretty much any job, but with music it can change. It can be, you can be gigging for this month, and you think every month is going to go like that, and it's not like that. Even with running my own business, you might have some months that you do really, really well, and then you may have months that, like, wow, what happened this month? And so the next month you might be playing catch up, depending on where you are. You might be playing catch up to just kind of balance and keep everything leveled out. But if you're able to kind of really invest into some things that create passive income for you, that's a good thing to do. That way you're not completely dependent on gig to gig to gig, or a situation, a church or a club or whatever you do. I don't know what you do, but having something there that's creating passive income, that's the idea, to get to the place where you're creating passive income. And if you don't know what that is, making money while you're asleep. Something that you're not necessarily having to work for. You did the work one time and it continues to pay you. So that's an option of looking into, um, being just a full-time musician, or a full-time basis, if that's what your hopes to do. Now, I don't want to discourage you. I just want to give you the truth. It's a dog eat dog world out there when it comes to this. Now, and I don't want to say that and make you feel like only the solo players or the people who are the elite are the only ones who do well. That's not true. You can get like a nice church job, or church is one of the more, man, I might be wrong with this, but when it comes to just being a musician, church seems to be one of the most consistent, one of the most, not the most, but one of the most consistent things you can do as a musician, having a church gig. And if you can land a pretty nice church gig, that's a cool thing to do. If you are fortunate enough to land a gig with artists where you're touring and doing that kind of thing, or giving lessons, all of that stuff is good. But church seems to be probably your closest model to your 9 to 5 type situation, unless you're doing a corporate band and all that kind of stuff. The reason why I say church seems to be like one of the most consistent, because church is going to meet every week. They're going to meet, most churches, bigger churches, are going to meet twice a week. And if you don't have to do a midweek service, at least you know exactly, okay, this is what I'm going to get from week to week at this church situation. If you're playing for a church, I'm not telling you to do that so you can go play for money, but we are musicians, and these are the organizations that we serve, being musicians. So if you're looking to do that, that might be the area to look in as far as going into churches or that kind of thing, because those are, for musicians, those are the most consistent. And you pretty much almost have a church on every corner in every city, unless you're in different countries. I don't know how it works over there, but here in the United States, churches are the most consistent. I know club gigs and other things like that, you can get those. You can get, like, down here in Atlanta, there are a lot of restaurants, stuff like that, that hire live bands. But in smaller cities, more rural areas, you don't have those opportunities. So you kind of got to make the most of what you have. I've kind of went a little longer than I wanted to on answering that question, but hopefully, yeah, hopefully I'm helping somebody with that. Is the application of the harmonic clicks applied to all 12 keys, or there is a specific keys of harmonic clicks? I'm probably gonna have to cover that on another lesson, because that'll take me way off into something that I'm not really trying to discuss today. I'm not sure if that fits the context of this. All right, so total recommendation says, good evening, brother from Indian Bases. Good evening to you. Good morning for me. Good evening to you. All right, in Oklahoma, to make let's see here. In Oklahoma, to make decent income, you have to get on the casino circuit. In the country band, that being said, the skill level requirement isn't that high. It comes down to, yep. See, and that brings up another good point. There are a lot of gigs depending on what you want to do, depending on how much you want to travel. They're like cruise ship gigs. I mean, like you said, the casino circuit, if you're into that, and that consists of playing a whole bunch of cover songs, being a cover band, playing top 40 stuff. Corporate bands do really well. A lot of corporate bands, a lot of guys I know that are part of corporate bands, and they do really, really well. If you can find like party bands, pretty much, they do really, really well. And I've never personally been a part of one. I've done corporate gigs, but I haven't per se been a part of a party band because that just ain't, you know, I'm not trying to pursue that. It's cool. You can make money in it and you can be playing, making good money. And so if you enjoy that kind of life or you enjoy that kind of atmosphere, that environment, playing top 40 stuff, probably the same set list from once you learn those top 40 songs, you're going to be pulling from that set list all the time and playing those songs over and over and over again. Some people enjoy that. Some people just enjoy the hanging out and being around people. It all matters what you're looking to do at the end of the day as a musician, because if you quit your 9 to 5 just to be a musician and you still end up playing stuff you hate, you're going to be just as miserable doing your music full time as you would doing a 9 to 5 full time. And that's what most people don't tell you. I'm living the dream. But if you're living the dream still doing stuff that you don't want to do, you're not going to be happy. I can tell you that from experience, because there have been plenty of times I've been doing this exclusively full-time musician for the last 13, 14 years, probably longer. And yeah, there are times that I've been on gigs doing what I love, and I'm like, man, I'm so ready to go. I'm not enjoying this at all, because at some point you start to do it for the money, because you have to. Your lights don't care nothing about how much you enjoy that gig. That bill has to be paid. So if you haven't figured out ways to supplement your income, or you don't have enough and you have to take these gigs, yeah, at some point you're going to be frustrated. That comes with the territory. I'm not saying every gig is going to be a walk in the park. It comes with the territory, but you just have to be aware. You guys that are looking to do and become full-time musicians, don't get this image from social media that everybody's just living their life, traveling the road, is just all this different stuff. Here's the reality of it. If you have a family and you happen to land a gig that allows you to travel the road, some of the setbacks that a lot of the guys who are on the road experience, they hate being away from their family. They're not around their family. They're not there to see their kids grow up. They're missing ball games. You know what I'm saying? They're missing graduations. They're missing babies' first steps because they're out on the road. So it's a balance in all of it, in terms of understanding that it ain't all what you think it is. Because when you're on the outside looking in, you're like, man, they look like they living it up over there. I see them posting pictures from all that stuff. But yet what you don't see is that they're missing really, really important things in their lives to pursue that goal or pursue that dream. And it's give and take. You know what I'm saying? So you have to just kind of understand it from that standpoint. All right. Go here. All right. Hi from Greece. It's pretty hard to live from music. You have to play gigs and also teach. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the same kind of here in the States, because there's only so many gigs that's available, unless you're creating your own gigs, unless you're being thoughtful, you're being very inventive in creating your own situations. And look, going and visiting your local band, or I mean, not your local band, your local restaurant or your local place who could accommodate live music, and ask them, I would love to help bring some live music into your spot or whatever. I love to help bring up the atmosphere, finding hotels, and maybe doing a solo act. Look, I would love to come sit in and play for your guests as they enter and as they leave on whatever nights. You just have to be creative and come up with ideas, depending on where you are. And if you're in a situation that you have to teach, maximize the potential of teaching, and see how you can, how you can supplement income with doing that. Um, Russell said, I've been writing books and cheat sheets to entice students. You need to find ways to be creative in things you do if you want to be full-time musician. Yep, there you go. Russell, that's pretty much what I've been saying. You got to be creative. Shelvin said, I'm learning the bass, and the best way to learn what's the best way to learn the fretboard. I might get to that today, but I can't guarantee I'm gonna get to that today. Good day. How do you create a song from the bassist point of view? All right, I think you've asked that twice, so I'm gonna definitely get to that. What up, sir? Hope your day is going great. Dimitri, my day is good, man. I can't complain. I'm a little sleepy, but other than that, I'm good. Hey, Jermaine, man, I always wondered if you like the Primus. I'm not sure what that is, man. Please, how do you approach creating bass lines to a production? All right, so let's get to these production questions. I recently bought a 6-string bass only to realize that my string skipping is trash. So I'm getting better though. Got you. All right, so writing songs, creating songs, and especially writing songs from the bass point of view. First thing I would say in that is, if you don't already have one, get you some type of looper pedal. Get some type of loop pedal. And if you already have recording software, then that might be an option too. If you don't want to invest into a pedal right away, but you do have some type of recording software, start recording the parts. You got to start kind of working on your chords and that kind of thing, as well as playing the parts. So like if you have a bass song, something that you're trying to create, you have to be able to start kind of picking out, okay, what else would work over this. And so that means learning other things like the guitar parts, like I guess the best way for me to demonstrate this is to connect my loop pedal. Excuse this, I shouldn't be doing this, but let me mute this so I don't make a complete mess over here. All right. So let's see here. I'm gonna show you how I would approach it. Let's see if we can make some sense this morning. All right. In just a second, get this stuff patched in. I didn't have my loop pedal hooked up here. There we go. All right. So if we were going to create a song, let me see here. G minor, Beaumont, Texas. Oh, you said good morning. I'm thinking you said G minor. Beaumont, Texas in the house. Good morning to you, 4 strings. All right. My main bass is now in E flat. Thanks to you. Wow. Hopefully that's working out for you. All right. So if I was going to create a song just with the looper pedal, I'm going to show you why I recommend that you get the looper pedal. Because the biggest thing is it allows you to start kind of creating all of the parts right away. And it's not a lot of work required, and you can just focus on the music as opposed to trying to edit and all this kind of stuff. Because a lot of my second album, Life, I wrote it from a looper pedal. So just say if I started with, I had an idea to do a bass line. All right. Now that bass line is going, I can think of something else now to go with that. I don't have to keep trying to remember the bass line. The bass line is there. All right, so I can go several ways. I can try to think of, what do I want my drums to do on this song? Or I can go to my guitar part. But for me, if I got something that's grooving like this, I'm probably going to already go ahead and start thinking of my drum part. Well, I already know that my snare drum is going to be on the 2 and the 4. So I'm just using this to create my drums. Kick drum. So I ain't feeling none of that. So I'm gonna do it again just to clean it up. Trying to get me a lower sound. Trying to find the sweet spot to get a real kick drum. But it's going to have to work for now for creative purposes. So here, alright, so I got a lot of stuff going here, but I'm trying to think. I'm doing this on the fly, and I didn't really have anything in my mind, so I'm having to try to create something. So like now, I'm having to try to like, all right, what do I want to focus on next? I got the drums and the bass going. I'm not really 100% satisfied with what's happening here, but I'm gonna make it work. All right, and this is the music creating process in its raw form. So all right, so let's what do I want my guitar player doing? So now I gotta think about what a guitar player would do on this song. You know, if I'm gonna have guitar on a song, I gotta think about, okay, what would my guitar player be doing over this song? And the groove is feeling funky, so I might have one or two guitar players. Who knows? And I got to think of my other instruments that I'm gonna have in there. Or it's so many different directions I can go with it. But having a looper lets me start exploring these different options, seeing what I like, seeing what I don't like. All right, so let's see what I want to go guitar next, and let's see what my guitar player might do over this. Let's say that's one guitar part, all right? Starting to feel a little better about it, but I think it's something else I can add, so I'm stacking that. So this can either be a keyboard part or get another guitar part. So alright, so let's say that's our keyboard part, alright? I'll just let it breathe for a minute. Push a loop. Oh, I didn't even record it. It's a lot of trial and error. When you're starting to create music, you don't have to go with the first idea you get. That doesn't mean it's the right idea just because it's an idea. So I don't like it. I have the opportunity while I'm creating with this looper pedal, before I even get into my DAW, my recording software, I'm like, I can say, yeah, I like that. No, I don't like that. And just kind of go back and forth until I find something I feel good about. All right. And so if maybe I can keep the same chords and do a different rhythm. Let's see. All right, let's keep it simple. So I can get away with that for my keys. So now with my bass, I can also, because now I'm creating the whole song from the standpoint of the bass, but I'm thinking about the parts that the other instruments will be doing. So now let's think about, all right, if I wanted some, it's funk, so I wanted some congas or some bongos, and let's see. So I just created with the bass. I emulated it rather. All right, let's try that. All right, so now I got bongos, congas, or whatever you want to call them going. So the other thing I'm hearing now, the more I listen to it, I'm trying to think about what my shaker would be doing. You know what I'm saying? So I just find ways to emulate that sound to the best of my ability with this bass guitar. So I'm gonna use that as a shaker. Sound more like a washboard, but I'm gonna use it as a shaker. So remember what I told you earlier, you don't have to just stick with something just because it was an idea. Don't mean it was a good idea. The reason I don't like it because it sounds too washy. It's getting in the way of the groove for me. Now if I had another shaker, like I do have, like if depending on the looper pedal that you get, you do have the option of like connecting a microphone to it. And you know, if you have like an egg shaker or something like a metal shaker, you can use that. So I'm getting you guys to think outside of the box. When you're creating a song as a bass player, you have to respect each, as a composer, a songwriter, you have to respect each instrument for what it is. When I'm creating these other instruments using my bass, I'm not thinking from the perspective of the bass, if that makes any sense. I'm having to use this bass and use the knowledge that I have on this instrument to come up with the other parts, because I'm answering questions for you guys who don't play multiple instruments. This is how you can create songs and create parts. And people in turn, if you're the producer of the song, it's a good way to, all right, this is what I was hearing. Now, once you pass that song off to a professional drummer, a professional keyboard player, you know, somebody who does that, now they can in turn interpret what it is you're trying to say. Like if I'm doing, they're going to hear a whole bunch of other stuff around it, but if I give them the groundwork, the foundation for what I'm hearing, I don't have to be you know, an elite keyboard player in order to produce a song or in order to communicate what guitar part I'm hearing. I don't have to be, you know, Spanky or any of those people on guitar. I just need to be able to communicate as a producer, as a composer. I need to be able to clearly communicate what it is I'm hearing. So now the idea, even if we stop with what I have so far, can I use this? Do I have enough to give to somebody to say, hey, can you produce this song for me? And with that little bit, me being a producer, if somebody gave me that, I would know exactly what to do. With hearing that little bit right there, as a producer, I would know exactly what to do. I would know exactly probably who I want to call to play certain things, who would be the best fit, you know, for the song. Now, composing, you're just writing. You're just trying to get the idea together. That doesn't mean you have to be a producer just because you composed a song. You're just a songwriter. You're just getting the idea together, and it doesn't have to be polished. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused and they won't create music because, oh man, I'm not good enough. I haven't, you know, spent enough time. I got to do this. I got all these excuses. And you see what I just did there within this however many minutes that I did that. It's probably within 10 minutes. I created the foundation for a song. Now, at this point, the groove is there. Truth be told, some of y'all can ride down the road with that right now without anything else done to it. But me, being a perfectionist, probably not. Now, I'm going to want to do a lot more stuff to it. I'm going to probably want to go in there and really re-record everything, section the song off, have an intro, have a a verse, have a bridge, have a chorus, whatever the case may be. I want a melody. I want something to carry the song. So those things come into play, and that helps when you have a person that's a songwriter working with you, or you have a producer that can help you that says, okay, let's do this. Let's take the song in this direction. I see what you got going on. It's pretty funky what you got going, but let's see if we can create something that connects the dots from section to section. Like what would you want the vamp? Are we gonna play this for the entire 4 or 5 minutes of the song, or is it gonna change? Is it gonna flip? Is it gonna go some different places? Because for some people, after hearing this for about a minute and a half, they're gonna probably be tired of it. And you don't want to write songs like that people, gonna get tired of. You want to have something. He said, "You got my 17-month-old dancing." That's good. Let me turn it back on while I read these comments here. All right. I'm gonna check these comments I missed. Funky, Jamaica is in the house. All right. Question: How can you can answer later? But why do many guys tune to be flat? All right, I'll answer that real quick. That's kind of along with the flat keys, a gospel thing. It's a gospel. It kind of came from gospel. The reason why most people tune down to be flat. I'm trying to answer it quickly, but yeah, it's one of those things. I started tuning to B flat because again, a lot of the gospel music is in flat and sharps, and so we like to have access to that low B flat. You know what I'm saying? We like, as gospel players, we like to have access to that low B flat, and even your music directors, your keyboard players and stuff like that like to hear the low B flat. So that's one reason I tune down. I know other people tune down to like A. They tune that bass down to low A, and that gives them an even lower range. And that's pretty much the short answer for that. People want access for that lower range. Everybody ain't satisfied with the low B. It's no different from a guitar player getting a drop D tuner, or even bass players doing that now, where they drop that E string, they drop it down to a D, just access to a lower note. That's basically the short answer for your question, is access to lower notes. All right, so let's see here. All right, EJ, appreciate that, man. That's groovy, man. That's incredible as always. Thank you, Tay. Do you find that six string helps with composing? For me, it does, but it doesn't limit, man. The one of the masters of composing on bass, Victor Wooten. I mean, obviously he done it with four strings. I mean, if we're gonna say four strings and no more, of course, when it comes to Vic, he don't need nothing but four strings, and he can get everything that I'm doing done on this six string. He can do it on a four. I just prefer six. I don't think it's a requirement either or. You know what I'm saying? In terms of composing, it don't have to be four, it don't have to be five, it don't have to be six. It's up to you. It's cast is composing on seven strings and whatever, on up to 12 and however many more strings that it go up to. I don't need all of that, but it comes down to preference. What works best for you? So you can get the same job done on four strings. I mean, just get a looper pedal and go at it. I can pick up my four string and can compose a song right there with my four string, the same way I have with the six string just now. So it's up to you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. He said my neighbors love the low B flat. I'm sure they do. So yeah. So I mean, that's just how we can approach composing. And the other thing, again, if you guys are, if you're feeling like you're still kind of amateur at this, I encourage you to start getting with people that are songwriters, to start collaborating with other people, because what you'll find in that, you'll find other ideas. As a musician, it helped me become a better bass player, learning the other instruments. Even my guitar playing got so much better when I started taking bass more serious, because most of you guys, I told you before, I used to be first the guitar player. So when I started taking my bass playing more seriously and started understanding things from the bass perspective, when I went back to guitar, it opened my understanding that much more. I had a different respect for what was going on in the low end. So that determined certain chords I would do, certain moves I would do, certain passes I would do, because now I'm understanding it from the perspective, okay, a bass player would probably do this move in this spot, vice versa. Me being able to understand, okay, a guitar player would probably take this spot or take this feel or use this opportunity to do this, even understanding the keyboard role. And it just comes from listening. You don't have to learn how to play those instruments, But the more you listen, you pick up on patterns. If you guys are fortunate enough to be in a situation where you play with good musicians every single week, you start picking up on patterns. You start picking, even if you're not playing with, even if you're playing with not so good musicians, start listening and paying attention to the patterns. You find out what they do, and then you kind of find out how to navigate around it. So now when you start creating your own music, you kind of know your lane. All right, I'm the bass player, and this is what I want the bass doing. If it's a song that features bass, like the challenge for me when I started creating my own music for bass player, um, is staying out of my own way. And I say that from the standpoint of whether it's soloing or whether it's playing the actual bass. Some people think it's just cakewalk. Being able to play an interesting bass line while at the same time having your bass as the lead instrument, like, my bass is, now if I'm playing that and then I have my melody line that's also bass, I got to figure out how to stay out of my own way. So my melody line got to be, somewhere on up the fretboard, and it has to make sense so I know I can stay out of this range. So if I want to stretch out a little bit with my bass line, it doesn't get lost and you don't know, okay, I don't know if this is his solo, or I don't know if it's his bass line. There's an art to that, being able to pay attention and know what's what. All right, and so staying out of your own way when you're composing music, if you're writing it and you're trying to be a solo bass player, it's like being able to understand if you're not going to do the Marcus Miller route or the Jocko route to where, every now and again you kind of step away from the bass line and you start the solo, and then you go right back into the bass line. Like a lot of the music nowadays, the bass line doesn't stop going and you're soloing on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to figure out how to navigate. Basically like having two bass players in the band. And you have to figure out how to navigate around that to where your bass line still remains interesting enough that your bass playing can be respected, but also your solo stuff, what you're doing, it stays out of the way of that bass playing. So I mean, it's like I say, it's an art to it. And here's the thing, guys. Let me put this little shameless plug out there. I love creating and arranging music. Here lately, I've been working with a friend of mine, a saxophonist, Quamon Fowler, who, if he's watching it, he's a bass player at heart. So the songs he come up with have, the bass is doing some pretty cool stuff. But at the same time, as much as I want to focus on this bass line, I want to think about, as an arranger and producer, I want to think about what else am I trying to, or what else is the artist trying to showcase in the song. Because as much as he liked the bass, the song is not about the bass. So I have to make sure that even though the bass line is interesting, the song still highlights whatever the main instrument is. Some of you guys might be bass players. You have song ideas, but they're not necessarily solo-based song ideas. That's cool. You can still write those songs. You can still put out an album that's a bass player is on the front, but you're not necessarily a solo bassist. That's possible to do that. Several friends of mine have done that. Sean Michael Ray, he put out a record. Some of the songs he soloed on, but other songs he just they were band songs. But you know that it was a Sean Michael Ray album. If you hadn't got that, I can't think of the name of the record, but grab his record. But that's like he's just pretty much just playing the song. Every now and again he may take a solo. So it's not necessary, because I asked some of you guys about recording your own music and you're like, man, I got to do this, and I go, stop making all those excuses. I'm gonna call you out. Stop making those excuses and just start recording. Just start recording. Start with the ideas that you have, because you might be shocked to find out your music is a lot better than what you think it is. And listen, if you send your track to me, it's definitely going to be a lot better than what you're thinking it is. And so as a producer, I will work with you and try to pull out the best you have as an artist. You know what I'm saying? My job as a producer is to pull out the best in you. You'll be shocked, some of the singers and musicians that I've had to work with, and kind of, I'm not gonna say anything negative, but being able to bring out the best in those artists and highlight their, the things that they do really well. That's our job. That's my job as a music producer, is to find the best in this artist. And even with being a songwriter, writing for these artists, as well as producing their music, write songs that complement who they are. Write songs that complement what they bring to the table, rather than having them, because there are people, that I've come in contact with as a producer and songwriter. I've come in contact with people, they have these ideas to do songs, but it don't fit their style. So you might have a jazz fusion song, you got the next Chick Corea got a match type song, but that doesn't fit your playing style. It's like you have a completely different traditional or more, different type of style, but you're writing a song that's on this field. So my job is to kind of bridge the gap. If I'm going to arrange the song because you don't want to get rid of the song as an artist, well, I have to arrange the song in a way that makes sense, that best represents you as an artist. That's my job as a producer. Sorry for that long, drawn out description of what it is I do as a producer. But if you guys have music, if you have songs, and you've composed songs and you want to do something with the music, don't sit on it. Don't take that stuff to the grave. Miles Monroe has a quote, and I've said it many times before: the richest place on earth is the graveyard. It's not the diamond mine, not the diamond fields in Africa, the diamond mines and all this different stuff, the coal mines. Everything that you think is not that, not the places where they go scavenge for gold and all. It's the graveyard, because you'll find so many ideas that people have just died with because they was waiting on the right time. And that's something you don't control. You don't have time. The time that you think you have, you really don't have it. So if you look at my stuff, I'm still putting out a lot of music. I dropped a song last year. I got a song getting ready to come out now. I got a whole album that's waiting to come out. We're trying to finish the last song. But if you guys have music, put that music out. I mean, if you want to sit with a producer so you can like put your best foot forward, I'm here. Send me an email. Go to my website, JermaineMorgan.net. Check out my production plans. Or we can come up with a custom production plan for you if you just want to get that music done. But don't keep sitting on those ideas making excuses, guys. And this is kind of somewhat what I want to talk about today. It's time. It's time for you to stop sitting on those ideas. It's time for you to stop waiting for this and waiting for that. Because guess what? Even at this level in my playing, I can listen to every one of my albums. We went somewhere and we had a long drive, so I was able to listen from album to album and hear my progression as an artist and hear my progression as a musician. You're gonna continue to grow if you listen at my playing from the Journey Continues album all the way up to Dreams Work Reality. It's completely different. Like, the consistency of my sound is still there, but it evolved. The more you listen over the years, my sound continue to evolve, and that's what we're all gonna do. We're gonna evolve, so you don't have to just be thinking, man, like, oh man, I don't know if I should put this out because it ain't sweet. No, it's a way it can be sweet. That's my job as a producer. My job is to make you sound sweet. That's the thing. And what you do, here's the thing that I learned from my own producing my own record. I was probably, when I put out The Journey Continues, the way the album sounded in terms of the way I produced the album, being a producer and being the artist, I was able to produce a better quality than what I could deliver at the time. And what that had me do, though, after I released the album, I was able to go back and study myself and learn to be that good. And once I got to that level that the album was, I know that don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but for me, I got better by putting an album out because I was able to go back and study my own solos, get better, and keep working on it, work on my speed, work on all these different things. Because when you're producing, you got time to go in there and chop it. Like nowadays, you got time to go in there and chop it, and do all that stuff. We ain't like a lot of us are not like the old cats back in the day, like the Miles Davis, and where they put on a record. I can do that now, but when I first put my album out, I wasn't at that level of my solo, and that it was, that it was that high. Davey, what's up, man? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't at that level that I could do that. So, I had to work and get myself up to that level where I could do that. So putting out your own music is an opportunity for you to do that and to work and to grow and to get better and better. So sorry to beat a dead horse on that, guys. So here we go. Guitar for playing like church music, gospel music, playing like traditional gospel music. It's like one course on my website. Thank you for covering this songwriting topic. I have a handful of original tunes, but I haven't done anything with them. Do something with them because I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to follow up with anything else. Nah, don't think that way. My bass lines are functional but boring. I wouldn't say that, man. They might be boring, but they might just need a little tweaking. You'll be surprised. Just a little bit of tweaking might change a whole bunch of stuff. Just tweaking just the little things in your bass playing. Matter of fact, send some stuff to me and let me hear it, and let's talk about it. Let's set up some calls. Let's talk about why your bass lines or why you feel like they're boring and what we can do to make sure that we make those bass lines exciting, because it's stuff that I'm pulling away. Like I wrote a song just the other day, just on last week, and you would think that the bass line was super boring. If I strip all the music away, man, you're like, man, this bass line is boring. But if I put the bass line in context with everything else, you like, woo, that's funky. But by itself, it kind of feels boring. So every bass line doesn't have to be that exciting. You know what I'm saying? So don't automatically, I'm telling you guys this, don't automatically write off what you're doing because you think it's boring, because to somebody else or in the right context, that bass line might be hot. Just, let somebody else listen to it. Let somebody else put their ears on it before you just write it off. Stop throwing away songs like like you messed up on a piece of paper. You ball it up and throw it away. Don't do that with your music. Don't do that. If it came to you, it's valuable. You might just need to change the context in which you're hearing it. All right. So he says, slap or pick. Slap. We'll go with slap, Davey. So yeah. Anybody else have anything else? Because I feel like I went over time. I feel like I went over time today, but I wanted to just kind of cover this stuff for you guys. That's my problem, boring bass lines, man. So we could spend another hour talking about the boring bass lines. For everybody that's you're saying your reason for not creating music is boring bass lines, send me an email. Let me hear your boring bass line. Let me hear your song idea. And I'm gonna tell you, okay, let's work with this, or nah, let's do a little, you probably can do a little bit more developing on this. Send it to me. You have my email, Jermaine@jermainemorgan.net. Send me your song, send me your idea. Let me take a listen at it and see what you have. So I wanna know what you guys have. I don't want you to keep sitting on these ideas, because it'd be terrible to die with that music in your head. Don't compare your music to other people. Don't compare your music to all the YouTubers, to all the artists that are out. You're not Marcus Miller. You're not Nathan East. You're not Victor Wooten. You're not none of those people. But you are you, and what you have is valuable. So stop comparing your stuff to other people. See what you have in your hand, and if you have to get with a producer or something like that in order to really get the best sound out of the stuff that you have, do that. Recording an amp versus VST. What's the way to go? Preference, man. It's all preference, because there are people who get great sounds out of recording just using VST instruments. When it comes to bass, especially, if you have a nice preamp on your bass, you can kind of get away with just going straight through a preamp right into your recording interface and getting a good sound there. And with the VST stuff, you can always EQ it later. I kind of like the VST stuff because it gives me options afterwards in post production. I can mess around with the sound a little bit more, have a little bit more range as opposed to recording with an amp. And then there are some pluses to recording with an amp. You get a really authentic, warm analog type sound that sometimes can be lacking in the VST. But the VST stuff has gotten so good, it's hard to tell the difference, man. It's really hard. You gotta have really, really good ears to kind of hear the difference now. So I'll say it's a matter of preference. I'm not gonna say one over the other, because that's a debate that I don't want to get into. But for me, I go straight in. I record straight in. For a lot of stuff, I've used my head from TC Electronic, my RH750 as a preamp. I've used that. I've used my Spectra comp as a preamp to record some stuff in. But it's really a matter of preference. It's a matter of what you're looking for. If your bass sounds really good, sometimes you don't have to do anything. All right. Which amp cab sims? I don't really use a lot of the simulators in when I'm recording. I don't. I pretty much record, straight in for the most part. And if it needs it, I'll throw a little EQ on it. But as far as amp modules and stuff, I don't really use a lot, especially when it comes to bass. I personally don't. I don't know what other people do, but I don't use a lot of those. A lot of the stuff that you hear from my records is just straight, bass going straight in. If anything, I used Again, I used my head. I went through the head to warm it up just a little bit, and just a little bit of EQ. Everything else from that point on, that's pretty much all it is make sure it's sitting right in the mix. All right, so hello, Jermaine. This is Martins from Nigeria. What's up, man? Sorry for coming late to miss your group. You're good. You're good. What amp caps? Okay, I answered that one already. So, all right, guys. So that's pretty much it for me for today. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys that are watching, and hopefully I added some type of value to everybody that's watching today. And I appreciate you for tuning in, even getting the famous Davey 504 to chime in. Thank you for chiming in, man. I really appreciate that. And for anybody else, man, thank you. If you want more from this channel, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to press the like button. Share this video with somebody who needs to see it. And remember, email me your song if you want me to hear what it is you're working on, and if you possibly want me to help you with the production of your song, email me. Let's talk about it. Let's set up some stuff. Let's see what works for the best for both of us. And if you want more bass lessons like this, be sure to visit JermaineMorgan.net. I have tons of content there as well as here on my YouTube channel. Be sure to visit all of that stuff and to see what you need. Tons of content for the gospel musicians on my website. I have a shout course, congregational songs course, like traditional stuff, if you need to learn more about traditional gospel music and that kind of stuff. So be sure to visit and check that out. And other than that, I will see you guys on the inside of my website. If you come over there, I'll see you over there. Other than that, guys, I'm about to jump off. Take care. Have a great day. I'm out of here. Peace. Blessings to you all.